It's not time for us to look at what the papers are reporting. First and foremost, we start with the Nation newspaper with the headline, Tinubu, bring back all abductees. Next is the Leadership newspaper, painting the harrowing experience the children had, while in captivity. We were kept near river, threatened to be killed if we made noise. Freed Niger school children recount ordeal. Next is This Nigeria. Tinubu orders security chiefs to free remaining 115 Catholic students from kidnappers' den. Blueprint newspaper, full implementation of Nigeria-US dialogue will crush terrorism. That's according to Moore. Hails federal government on release of 100 abducted school children. Northern governors earmarked 228 billion naira to tackle security challenges. Attorney General of the Federation, Fagbemi, pledges speedy trial of kidnap and terrorism cases. Platform Times, Tinubu, Nigerians must be ambassadors of truth. President warns citizens against weaponizing misinformation. Launches national campaign to promote patriotism, integrity. Next is Nigerian News Direct. Cashless policy. Federal government rolls out unified revenue platform. Sets January 2026 deadline for mandatory e-receipts. The Guardian newspaper, Floyd Beneku, how Nigeria's intervention secured key trade routes, regional supply chain. And the Punch newspaper, federal government defers 90% of 2025 capital project to 2026. Government stops new projects, imposes spending limits, 22.37 trillion naira budgeted for 2026 capital expenditure. Nigerian Tribune has on the front page, insecurity, miners tackle northern governors, reject call for ban on mining. Interesting development. And last but not least, Osimhen leads, is the Sporting Live rather, with the headline, Osimhen leads Gala's attack. Ilehina doubtful for Monaco tie. I'll be doing this with my colleagues, absolutely, with Biodesho Muhi is joining us, for deep insight into some of the reportage made by these newspapers, Ria as well as Olamide. Now let's start off with you, looking at the Nation newspaper, looking at security of things. We just started off, discussing the rescued children. Let's say, the rescued children one way or the other. And the president is giving the marching order, saying that all the girls, all the abductees must be brought back to the country, to their families. And then he's saying, even one of the children was saying that we were kept near river, threatened to be killed if we made noise. These are terrorists. They do not care who they are, but some of them said that they are businessmen, because one thing is they go for soft target, they know that you can't bomb them, so they negotiate because they have the higher hand over maybe the government or...
But at the end of the day, we'll have to come to the end of all this.
Well, the president is also, if you look at This Nigeria, is also, ordering security chiefs to free remaining 115 Catholic students from kidnappers' den. There are conflicting figures. Yeah. We talked about confusion, where others are saying 300, some are saying even 400, as high as 400. But the number we're getting here is 115 Catholic students from kidnappers' den, and 100 of them released. So the official figure, I believe, is around happen, because the longer they stay with these terrorists, the quite vulnerable they are, and they might one way or the other sympathize with these terrorists, and we do not want that to happen. So meaning that the government must act very fast.
Absolutely. It's high time we start treating school security as a national priority. There's a long game, there's an agenda to what the terrorists are doing. I don't think that we give them enough credit for being intelligent. Real, like you said, you blow a banger and they're going to think it's a gunshot. You are going to raise a populace, if we're not careful, of very scared individuals who see a threat to their life as normal, as commonplace, which should not be. So the president giving this direction...
Americans on what to do, and we've also asked them for certain things, which are not being openly discussed. So we know that we'll get the necessary equipment and get the necessary intelligence to be able to deal with this problem. But one fundamental issue we should not forget in all this is that mining has been contributing, or it's a driving force behind some of these kidnappings. And we know that equipment are being supplied by some criminals who are not necessarily, Nigerians. But the fact of the matter is, why should we ban mining?
I don't know if I'll be wrong, but I'll say if we can close that sector of the economy for our children to be safe, is it too much to do? It's just a harmless question.
There's little link between children being kidnapped and illegal mining. Children are not
because it's not safe at the end of the day. You know, we see that some of these bandits, like these things happen because of illegal mining.
Look, schools are in towns and villages, where people live. Mining is done in the bush.
Yeah,
it's
but
strictly
there are
done
some
in the
places
bush.
where people live,
Exactly.
and they know that they are sitting on gold. For instance, Zamfara, you may not have to dig deep before you even strike gold. So they displace people in order to continue, their business of mining.
Absolutely.
Illegal mining, rather.
It's the same.
Even if you don't like your government, you must like your country.
Absolutely. It's quite unfortunate the way media has evolved, from conventional to now social media. Look, what I would like you to know, social media has come to stay. The issue is regulation this time around. You have people saying things which should never be said. For instance, I was watching one about the coup in Benin Republic, and somebody was saying that, why not here? I said, what are you talking about? Do you know what it means? Have you ever lived under the military rule?
Of a coup.
Even this kind of conversation.
Get the fate of Nigerians again, Mr.
Absolutely.
Biodo, will be realistic.
The hyper-digital era that we now live in has really entrusted power into the hands of the people. Everybody is a citizen journalist. And as citizen journalists, we have a moral duty and a moral obligation to make sure that not everybody can tell the objective truth, but at the very least to follow the figures and to follow facts. What we have to put into context here is that whether we like it or not, we're in a hyper-digital era. And as somebody who uses social media a lot, I do the Trending Now segment, Mr. Biodo, I don't know if you know this, I have come to learn that the heart of the people lies in social media. If a government wants to understand their people, their heart, their opinions, their aspirations, their hopes, go on Twitter, go on Facebook,
and it's the
go on
as
Instagram, filter through what is true and what is the voice of your people. And there is where the heart of the people
Because the thing is that, I'm sorry, Brian, the youths also make up the nation and they are the ones that are speaking. So, Mr. Shomi, we need to start
So everyone, I'll
Mm.
use this to ask a question from you. Everyone actually heaped the blames on the federal government. Now, if you're going on the road, you see that you're driving, the commercial bus drivers and then their conductors will block the road, calling in passengers without giving hoots, caring about whoever is actually rushing to their destination. They are not, and these same people will be blaming the government for not caring about them. Do they care about the people on the road? And sometimes you even enter commercial buses. I'm trying to give that a practical example. You enter commercial buses.
Countries is that we have debased our own values. Even when you talk to a Nigerian, talk to a younger Nigerian and ask him about what are the Nigerian values, they have no idea.
They don't know.
They have no idea.
Because Nigeria is constantly metamorphing into a nation that we don't recognize anymore.
That's where the
Nigeria is not stable.
National orientation, they failed. But I think they're actually waking up. The ministry is waking up. But we'll continue this conversation. It's just time for us to quickly take a break, and we'll be back to have more conversation on the newspapers' front pages. Do stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks so much for joining us on TVC Breakfast. We have been discussing the front pages of the newspaper, and then we've got heated
behind the scenes, things got really heated.
And I think some of those will be, transposed, right before the camera. So we were talking about national values. There is a concern about national values, where you guys also concerned about the Gen Zs and the role they play, and how we are not ensuring that people are carried along, because the Gen Zs feel like, come on, we can't wait. We just want things to be done pronto. But others describe them, because they do not understand, they describe them as brash, mannerless, because of that.
Not true.
But I guess people do not understand what we should hold as the value, for the Nigerian nation.
Yeah, I think the Gen Z generation, they have their own definition of what the Nigerian dream is. And for them, they're not getting it. And they can't see the trajectory, to achieve that dream. And that's for the Gen Z. And of course, they now have many opportunities. The social media is there to amplify their grievances. Of course, the country has to listen to them, because the Gen Zs are Nigerians also.
Absolutely.
They have to be listened to. The country must evolve in a way to address the concerns of the Gen Z generations, while at the same time upholding the Nigerian values. Because it does not necessarily mean that when you look at, let me give you a good example. The freedom of speech has been expressed by the Gen Z generation is not, in many cases, taking account of the law of the country to say, look, there's a limit to your freedom of speech. You are right, you can express yourself the way you like, but you can also be held accountable, for whatever you say. But that is not sinking in. The Gen Z generation will see that as repression rather than complying with the law. Looking at those values, that even within that, you still need to observe certain things. I understand they're highly impatient, they're eager to move on, they want jobs, they want everything to happen immediately. But along that line, we still have to meet the expectations while also trying to reconstruct the Nigerian values.
And if just to add to this, I believe that the Gen Zs do a whole lot, for even Nigeria. There are a lot of Gen Zs that have started new businesses that are making Nigeria proud in so many ways. I do not think that they are, they want things done quickly. I feel like because they know that it can be done, they are surprised why it's not done as fast as it should be. That's what I'll say for Gen Zs. But also, let me even put it together as youths. If we want to uphold the values, it starts from the federal government. Let them believe in you again. And Mr. Biodu, I was saying this thing, off the table. There are so many things that will happen to you in life that you would lose hope in a country. I'm not saying you should lose hope in your country, but the federal government as well. Let's put things in place. When people graduate, let them get work. Like, there's so many things that need to be put in place. If we want to talk about employment, do we go into that?
Yeah, I think it will be out of place for anyone to lose hope in the country. You may not like the government.
But I'm saying the federal government has
the country remains. That's the reality.
Remains, but the federal government also has things to do to make
I just want to say one more thing. The president has urged all of us to be ambassadors of truth. And the truth is that maybe it's time to renegotiate what Nigeria should look like and what the Nigerian dream should entail.
All right, let's move on to the Nigerian News Direct. Cashless policy. Federal government rolls out unified revenue platform. Set January 2026 deadline for mandatory e-receipts. So if you look at the story, so the platform called Revenue Optimization and Assurance Platform, that's RevOp, as part of a major public finance reform with full implementation of strict no physical cash receipt policy and mandatory e-receipts. That's what the development world is actually doing. And I also read a report of even banks asking banks that people who are running current accounts, for instance, or people want to open current accounts, or someone wants to invest in the Nigerian economy, you're asking them to bring referees where there is name, where there is what's it called? We have name, we also have BVN, and all of that, and you're asking for referees. Even some of these referees, they are not even physically available. So all of this backward ways of doing things, we should digitize. That is what this thing is talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite correct. Some of our practices are anachronistic. We need to move away from them. We need to modernize our system. It's not just about talking about digital economy or introducing AI and all that. No. What about your own practices? The idea that somebody who has just graduated should have 5 years experience before being able to apply for a job should no longer be that. It should be about your skill, your knowledge, what you have. It's not necessarily about how long you have been unemployed or employed. And it's the same thing with the banking sector. Why are you asking for reference when in reality, simply because I want to open an account? What will that mean for a young Nigerian? You're asking somebody who's just graduated, wanting to open a bank account, go and bring referees and all that to prove what? This person has been in school all the while, studying. So referee on what? So there are some of these things we need to go back and look at what we're doing.
That's right.
And then rely on our new system, which is the name, the BVN. They should be sufficient.
And Ibrahim, a cashless centralized revenue system, it's only as strong as the ministries, departments, and agencies that use it.
And I feel like technology is taking over. We need to follow through, because if not, we'll be left behind.
Most definitely.
For sure.
Ria, if you look at the Guardian newspaper, Floyd Beninku, how Nigerians' intervention secured key trade route, regional supply chain. So they're giving us information about how all of this. But no one wants school,
of course,
in Nigeria. No one wants school, even within the borders of Nigeria. Not even in Africa any longer, because it takes us backward very quickly before I go to.
No, but quickly, we spoke about it on the show. What a coup does to a country. It doesn't sit well. It disturbs your economy. People are unsafe. The military take over. I'm happy that in Benin Republic we saw that it was very fast, and we saw that Nigeria was able to stand it. And I saw conversations on social media. People were like, "So Nigeria can go and help another country?" Yes, Nigeria can go and help another country. We are the giants of Africa. But I'm just happy that didn't happen. But also, what I want to state, talking about coup, Mr. Biodu, I think that oftentimes times our leaders, they don't know when it's time to take a bow. We see a president for 10 years. We are wondering, why are you still president for 10 years? Of course, nobody's supporting a coup. A coup is not a good thing to happen. But when you look at some of the reasons for this coup, you wonder, you know, why someone is a president for 10 years, and the people have been complaining as well. But I'm also happy that Nigeria was able to, you know, just make things right, even though people on social media believe that, you know, Nigeria has a lot to fix in their house rather than going outside.
But Mr. Shomi, being president for 10 years, is it actually a problem? Because if you look at some of these countries that are developed, for instance, Russia, you know how long Putin has been in power. If you look at Saudi Arabia, you see how the Saud family has been ruling for quite long, and you see the level of development. Look at Qatar. You know, some of those places.
You have your answer right there. The level of development.
So is it a problem to be in power for more than 10 years?
You know, the case of Benin is
even Gaddafi saw what he did in Libya before he was killed by the US.
Yes. The issue of this trading route is not the first time we fight and defend that trading route. The 1835 to 1940 war was over trading route, which actually happened at Iju. It was over trading routes to in relation to Benin Republic. So,
you mean a Jew in Ogun State?
A Jew in Ogun State, yes.
Okay.
You know, on the border towards the border with Idiroko. So, it's not something new that Nigeria will do anything to protect that route.
That's right.
That is one. The second issue is maybe there are issues that people are not talking about. There are other interests in this issue in relation to Benin Republic. When people say that, okay, the president has been in power for 10 years, it's going. It's supposed to leave in April. And in any case, he served 2 terms in line with the provisions of the Constitution. Number 2, election is happening in April. So why the hurry, why the need to remove him when in reality he's no longer contesting? Do not forget there's also a problem up north with Niger Republic. Niger Republic has a pipeline that ran through, or that is running through Benin Republic to Cotonou to be able to export their oil. That's created another major problem. They've been having battles over that. It was over that 50 soldiers who those coupists were complaining about were killed by ISWAP because they were trying to disrupt. The Chinese built that pipeline. Niger Republic has an interest in whatever is going on in Benin Republic. So there's the issue of Burkina Faso. I mean, there's no time to go into all this. So it's a bit more complex. But for a country like Nigeria, there's no way you'll allow yourself, you know, to be surrounded by enemies. Niger Republic being governed by the military, then you now want Benin Republic. Cameroon is still in deep mess. There's nothing. We have little option but to protect our national interest.
Just now, you did mention a country that struck a nerve, Burkina Faso. I know that as of this morning, I believe about 13 military personnel were detained. What do you make of that news? Apparently because we invaded their airspace.
Well, we went through the airspace. We don't know what happened. Don't forget, it's a francophone country and we are anglophone. So there may be communication problems. But I'm sure that the federal government would resolve that through diplomatic.
We are in the same bloc, ECOWAS bloc, and I think Nigeria acted.
They pulled out of ECOWAS.
Yes.
Which one are you referring to? Is it Benin Republic?
Burkina Faso.
No, they moved. Burkina Faso, Mali, and what's it called, Niger. Now, let's move on to the Punch newspaper. Federal government defers 70% of 2025 capital projects to 2026. Government stops new projects, imposes spending limits, 22.3 trillion naira budgeted for 2026 capital expenditure. And if you look at this, you know, it is one thing. I think this has been the federal government being tactical about their spendings because the year has already, you know, winded down, and then they have to see how do we continue to expend because we have to be accountable for whatever it is that we do. And remember, January the 1st, 2026, I think that's when the new tax regime is going to take effect, and people are waiting with bated breath. How is it going to look like?
Well, I think what the government is trying to do is to address the past errors that, you know, kept recurring with every single budget in Nigeria. We've been complaining about that. Budget, you will have budget performance of 30, 40, 50%.
That's right.
And then rolling it over without actually addressing the cost, which is cash liquidity problem. So what the government is trying to do, given my own reading, is to say, look, we need to put a stop to this. Let us start a new process of being able to complete projects rather than rolling them over. If you look at past budgets, you know, there's always the criticism about duplication of projects. What happened to the one you budgeted for last year, and you are still budgeting for the same thing. I think they're trying to set a different frame, and in order to do that, they are trying to do what they are trying to do now. Move 70% of this year's budget, move it into next year, so that you don't budget for new things completely. Let us complete the ones we have.
As a comment, they are also saying, as he said, we already have some projects that are not completed. Why don't we complete this project first, rather than now looking for a new project? That's
we have 16 trillion abandoned projects in Nigeria.
Wow.
16 trillion naira worth of abandoned projects.
Like, where is the accountability? But what I even want to come in here is talking about this new tax. We had a guest on this table that said it may not even be implemented on that 1st of January 2026. I just want to pick your brain on it. Do you think that we will finally be starting this tax, in January 1st, 2026?
I think the government will do that.
Because our guest argues that it may not happen,
It will get implemented. The issue is enforcement. At what stage will it get to you if you are not complying? I think that's the issue. But in terms of introducing it and then implementing it, they will start the implementation from...
But for me, it's not even about the implementing. Like, when do we, the enforcement, like you mentioned, or when do we now start knowing that, okay, this has now been enforced? Because, Mr. Biodo, this is not the first time that we've had conversations. We'll speak about it, and over the time, you just hear it goes down the drill.
One thing which is certain is, from 1st of January, anybody earning, less than 800,000 naira a month will not be taxed. So that's enforcement. It has started.
Yes.
So the issue is on defaulters.
Yes.
At what stage will government get to the point of the defaulters? And that's the critical issue. And I'm sure they work it out one way or the other.
I think by pushing 70% of our capital projects into 2026, the government is definitely telling us that survival spending right now is more important than development spending. But the question I will ask is, how long are we going to keep on shifting projects into the future? This future seems so far away, and that is quite worrying.
We are only looking at the capital projects. Go and look. If you read try and get the whole full script. Even the recurrent expenditure the figures will no longer be provided by the MDAs. They will capture it directly from the system, the payment system currently, and then receive by whatever percentage that will get raised. So instead of, they'll be able to deal with the issue of people banging in, what do they call them, ghost workers and some other inflated figures and all that. They're trying to close all those loopholes. And it's not just about capital expenditure, they are looking at the process of budget making. And if we're able to fix that, we'll fix the recurrent expenditure, we will know how many people are in government employment, and at the same time, what inflation up rate that government will need to add to it before completing the budget, rather than allowing everybody to say, look, in anticipatory employment, we will employ 10 people next year, and then you already make provision for it.
That's a welcome development.
Right. Now, let me take you a step further backward to this Nigeria. If you look at the year of the newspaper, it says Nigeria's foreign reserve reaches $45 billion, highest in 6 years, CBN. And that's according to CBN saying that. And I guess I saw this story, I think, very early in the morning yesterday, before the papers even picked it. Someone in Canada just forwarded the message to me, like, breaking news, like, okay. It looks like foreign reserve is more people outside of the country who follow the economy. They are quite interested in, our external, foreign reserves rather. And it is the key drivers have been said to be policy reforms, talking about the FX model, buyer willing seller, increased inflows, enhanced oil production, economic stability. What does this say about the Nigeria's economy? What does it mean? What's the significance of it?
There's a growing confidence in the Nigerian economy. When you look at our foreign reserve, we now have a foreign reserve that could at least last us for 9 months. In the past, we used to have 6 months. In the recent past, we're looking at about 2-3 months, and that affected the value of the naira. So, given the state of our foreign reserve now, which is very healthy, we are likely going to see the economic situation improving. Investors' confidence would increase, in our economy. And it's not just about the foreign reserve. When you look at the content, what goes into making our budget now. In the past, we used to have 80% of the resources coming from the oil sector. Now, is about 40, 42 non-oil sector,
Yeah.
you know, to about 58 or 60% oil sector. So there's a significant increase in revenue being generated within the country and also being generated from the non-oil sector through export. So the economy seems to be doing very well if you take those factors into consideration. And given the state of the foreign reserve, we are probably going to bounce back stronger than what we have experienced.
I love the fact that he mentioned that the economy is doing very well, and I feel like this is not the time we need to tighten our security, because at the end of the day, if your security is still shaking, how well, you know, can you manage that economy? So I feel like we're seeing this happening. This is the time we need to now make sure that we have people that are secure in Nigeria. Our military is working, our police officers are working, and we do not keep hearing about these kidnappings. What do you think?
Insecurity can affect investors' confidence, no doubt about that. And that is why I think the federal government is being pressured by all, including foreign countries, to ensure that we're able to nip this problem in the, you know, I'm sure we will get there eventually because things will improve over a period of time. New resources will be available for the military. We can see that the priority of the government is, they're talking about national security, health, education, you know, agriculture, youth empowerment and all that. If we're able to fix the causes of terrorism, terrorism will decline. So we need to be tough on terrorism and be tough on the causes of terrorism.
Looks like there is hardly anything you want to talk about, you know, in this country, even in this world, without you falling back to, you know, insecurity, terrorism, and all of that. But, you know, at a point in time, we kept talking about what the government has been doing, the economy, which is stabilizing. IMF, you have the Bretton Woods of this world, IMF, World Bank, you know, saying Nigeria, thumbs up, you guys are getting it right. Before we knew it, overnight, you just started talking about insecurity, terrorists, and all of that. And some are saying that it is an intentional distraction for the federal government, you know, to lose focus and return Nigeria back to the doldrums. Is that the
that is, some might argue that that's a conspiracy theory. I don't think that this was sudden at all. I think insecurity has been happening at our borders, in communities that are
especially when
in rural communities.
US raised the alarm that, you know, there is Christian genocide, and
in
before you
rural
know it, everybody started attacking churches, you know, back to back to back.
In rural communities that are often overlooked, in quiet families, in people that don't have any purchasing power or status, insecurity has been seeping and bubbling for God knows how long. But finally, it's bubbling over, and perhaps that is what we need right now.
Yeah, and Ibrahim, I'll tell you, it's not something that we're just seeing now. It's been happening, but the media is now reporting it more, you know, because of
the media has always been reporting it. I think it's just where we focus our attention.
So if we say insecurity has not been happening, we will not be doing justice.
No, don't get it wrong. Nobody said insecurity has not been happening.
But right now we're seeing like more of it. And I don't believe this conspiracy theory. I believe that what America said to us should be a wake-up call to make sure that we eradicate insecurity in Nigeria. I do not like the fact that people want to, you know, conspiracy, oh, it's because of what America said, we started saying more stories. No, let that be a wake-up call to us. I know the president met with Macron as well. The president is also trying to make sure that we are now secure in Nigeria, because, Mr. Biodun, the more time we talk about our economy doing well, you were speaking about it, our economy is doing well, but then we are facing so much insecurity. How do we sustain it?
Yeah, but this issue of this sudden kidnapping of school children and all that, after Donald Trump made those comments, needs to be explained. You know, look, terrorists think they need to kidnap people to protect themselves because they're scared of being bombed.
All right. Absolutely. I'm afraid that we need to, you know, call it a wrap, you know, for the newspapers which have been up for reviews. Sports newspaper, I think the Sporting Life, saying that Osimhen leads Gala's attack. Ilekina doubtful for Monaco tie. Also have 2025 AFCON update. Mwabali now doubtful. We'll see what happens, you know, in the fullness of time. Who will be representing, you know, Nigeria for the AFCON. But that's about it for the newspapers up for review. Coming up on TVC Breakfast, from captivating sights and sounds to the true taste of Nigerian heritage, Niger Flavor celebrates everything that makes Nigeria unique. Join us after the break for this conversation.